G'day everyone, Nathan here at Glass for Classics. Now one thing we do get asked a lot is how do I make a windscreen template for my frame? We get a lot of customers, you've got chopped hot rods, be it a Model A, a 34, a 36 Ford, whatever it is. It's a really straightforward process, but you have got to be dead accurate. Otherwise you're going to end up cracking your glass, you're going to have fitment issues down the track. Now we've got this customer's 35, 36 Ford frame they've dropped off to us. We're going to run you through today how to do this. It is very, very simple. Now, all you're going to need, we use, for all our templates, 6mm MDF. You can get away with some if you've got masonite or some thin plywood, etc. Look, MDF is definitely the best product to use. It's just the easiest to work with and it's nice and smooth all round. So what we'll do, we'll just go and mask this frame up just to make sure we don't damage any of his nice new chrome, and then we'll get started on how to make the template. Alright, now that we've got this all masked up, this is the easy part. We're just going to flip this over so it's face side down. We're going to trace around this inside line. Now this is going to give us our visible line for the inside of the frame. Make sure you've got yourself a fine tip pen. Do not use a thick permanent marker or a blown out chisel tip marker. It has to be as fine and as accurate as you can get. Now all we're going to do, we'll pull this down nice and tight and trace all the way around this visible opening. This has to be accurate. Do not let it move under any circumstances or it's going to end up mucking up your finished result. Alright, now we're back to the beginning. Now, this next step is very important. This has to be dead accurate or you're going to end up with fitment issues once the glass is being cut. Grab your steel ruler and we now need to measure the internal depth. So this is where the glass is actually going to fit into the frame. We need to know exactly how deep this is. Now this frame for the 35-36 Ford is exactly 8mm. So when you come time to do your template now, we've got to reduce the size of the frame all round. So if this is 8mm deep, we need to leave at least 2 to 3mm if possible between the edge of the glass and the metal part of this frame inside. So essentially we're going to add 5mm now to this line that we've drawn. So again, grab your steel ruler, you've got your nice neat line all the way around. If at this point now, so for this one we're going to add 5mm, just do some reference marks every 50 to 100mm. The more there are, the more accurate your finished product will be. Take your time with this. I can't stress this enough. Now the other thing to be aware of, a lot of the frames, if you've got a push out windscreen, you know, your 32 to 34 Ford, etc., or even a Model A, some of them have bolts that actually screw through from the inside. Now, you will need to make a relief cut in this as well. We'll cover that off shortly, but for the time being, I'm just going to go around, I'll finish marking this off, and then I'll show you the best way to get a nice smooth line so you don't need to join the dots manually and get a bit of an uneven line. Alright, we've now got all our reference marks all the way around. Quick tip with this is in the tighter radiuses in the bottom corners, this is geared more for you with your, for example, 32, 34 Fords, even this 35, 36 Ford. The more dots you've got closer together on the tighter radiuses, the easier it's going to be to get some reference marks. So we've spaced these ones out at 50 at the top, but we've got these about 10mm apart through here. So we're now just going to grab the frame that we had, and this is the easiest way to do it. You don't need a second set of hands, you don't need someone bending a bit of steel or cardboard or anything else. This is a one-man job, nice and simple. All you're going to do is you're going to line your frame up with as many of the dots as you possibly can. Now, it's obviously not going to be exactly the same in the corners because they're a tighter radius originally. So we're going to start at about this point here, and we're going to continue to draw this line now all the way along. Now this is giving us essentially the 5mm worth of glass that's going to be sitting in the frame. Now I'm going to stop here. This we're going to now slide back this way to get the sweep correct on this corner. And again, I'm only going to go to about halfway through because you can see here it starts to tighten up and come in too far. So if I now just pull this through to halfway, we'll slide this along again and down a little bit. Now this will line up this section through here, and we'll run this through. We're going to infill these corners by hand shortly, but we're going to come and do the bottom edge too. Now the bottom edge is just the same process as the top. Remember, you're going to get about half of it done. Don't try and get it all done in one go, because this piece that we're adding, it's a larger radius all the way around on the corners. So we'll draw this on here. Remember, be as accurate as you can be. That's going to get us to there. We'll slide this along just a little bit to get our corner to about halfway lined up. Now, same again, we'll try and do the middle. Now, if you actually have a look here, see this frame? This is a chopped frame. It's had 2.5 inches taken out of it. There is a bit of movement in it. Try and line that up. I can't pull that in anymore, but try and line that up to be as accurate as possible when you are doing this. Oops. Through there. Through there. Now, we'll move this out of the way. Now this is why I said to you before, we're going to have to try and do as many dots as close together in the corner, because that you can just manually infill by hand. You need to be accurate, but you don't need to be over the top with it. So remember, work the sweep of your hand. The hand naturally rolls in that direction, so go with it. Same on this top corner again. We can now infill that accurately. We'll come around, we'll do the other corners. Remember, the hand will naturally give you a nice smooth radius if you're doing it this way. If you work from the outside, it's going to be too hard. So just move nice and slowly through that corner. You're better off putting too much here and sanding it down than not enough, and you won't be able to add it back on again. Right, now we're about to just take this. We happen to have a bandsaw and a large belt linisher. We'll show you how we do it. To be honest, as long as you've got a jigsaw and a sander, you can cut this out nice and easily. Now, I can't stress enough, you have got to be accurate. The more accurate you are when you make the template, the more accurate I am when I cut your glass or whoever your local glazier is. If you get jagged lines all over the place and big flat spots, we don't know exactly what's going to touch in the frame and what's going to be in the way. You have got to be accurate. So we'll take this now, we'll go cut this out, and then we'll come back and we can do a test fit in the actual frame to make sure that there's enough clearance and there's nothing going to touch. Alright, we now have our template spot on. So this is what we've managed to cut out. If you come in close, you can see we have, now we needed an exact 5mm all the way around. We've now got a nice neat 5mm worth of material beyond this line. Now remembering that this line is the visible opening of our frame that we trace through here. So the last step is to test it, test it, test it, test it. You need to make sure you've got clearance, you need to make sure there's nothing that you weren't aware of before and you overlooked. So we'll pull this one out, we'll just pop this in the frame now. Because this is actually good practice with this for when you get the final piece of glass as well. This is all sitting together nicely. Alright, if we come in close and have a look at this, you can see we've got our visible black line that we drew nice and neatly before. You need to be able to move this across. See how we now have about 2 or 3mm? That's going to essentially be the gap that's in the frame. Now if I slide this way as well on this end, if we come down here, if we move this, we've now got the same nice 2mm gap. So if I center this again, inside the frame theoretically, we have a 2mm gap between the edge of the frame here and the edge of the frame here. Now when we fit our frames, we use the original product that they use from the factory. It is called setting tape. It is a butyl compound and it will tack off and bond to the frame and the glass. This will allow it to move, particularly for those of you who have a push-out windscreen. This is important. Don't urethane it. We are not fans of urethane. Fitting with this is very easy. It's usually about $10 a metre. You only need about 2 metres to do it. This is now fine. We've checked it. I'm happy with the way this is sitting. The next important thing, particularly for ourselves if we're going to make your glass, we want to know where you want the safety stamp to go. All you need to mark, so we'll flip this back over so it's the outside face again. If you want this to go on the driver's side at the bottom, if you can just mark it with a small cross, that'll locate the stamp so that we know it's visible and where you would like it to be. Apart from that, you've now completely finished the job and we can go and put this into production, or your local glass guy can go and put this into production. Once this is back, we'll run through how to actually fit the glass into the frame using the setting tape, so keep an eye out for that video. And if you've got any questions, for those of you in Australia particularly, feel free to give us a call. Our number's 1300 442 000, or you can send us an email to enquiries@glassforclassics.com.au.